this is our girl. She's just waking up, so she's kind of stretching and yawning. Here she is. Oh, she waved. Oh.
I think she was just saying stop.
Oh, there we go.
So that hand to the face is like, no, you didn't.
She's like, it's too bright.
I was sleeping.
So here she is. She's got kind of brown hair with blonde streaks, and then it was kind of balled up here, and now it's coming in blonde. Hi. Can you say cheese? I don't want to be tickled.
Don't wake her up.
Okay. All right. Well, here's what she looks like. She'll be more awake in the next video. So just wanted to show you guys and say hello. Hey guys, so I wanted to do a update and let you know that we had our baby. So I don't have her with me right now. I apologize. She's downstairs with Dan and his mom. This was the first time I was able to actually sneak away, so thought I would take advantage of that. So I'll just kind of tell the whole story. On Saturday, I didn't feel very well. That's Saturday, June 17th. Didn't feel very well, and I decided to, oh, I'm coming from my bedroom, by the way. Decided to take my blood pressure, and it was high. Normally for me, my blood pressure high number is in the 120s, and, excuse me, it was in the 140s, which is unusual for me. Even in all my OB appointments, it's never been high. So, you know, I just kind of wanted to watch it. Then we went to bed, and Sunday I woke up and took the blood pressure right away, and it was in the 140s still. So I went ahead and called labor and delivery, and I was 39 weeks and 2 days. And they said, well, come on in and we'll do a blood pressure check here. So we went in, and we had our hospital bag packed. We had everything kind of ready to go. We took the garbage out just in case they decided to keep us. So we went there. They took my blood pressure. My feet and ankles were swollen. I had a bit of a headache. And they said, well, we think you have the starts of preeclampsia. But they debated on sending me home because my urine didn't have any protein in it. And they said that they were considering having me do a 24-hour urine test where you collect all your urine for 24 hours and then test it that way. And so, but they kept us there, and they said, well, you know, let's do one more check. And Dan and I were sure that we were getting sent home, and so we're planning like, oh, well, let's go have lunch at the spaghetti factory because it was really close and I liked that place. He doesn't really like that place, but I do. And then we've been wanting to get a chest freezer, so we're like, okay, so we'll go to Home Depot and look at that. And so the doctor comes back, does the last blood pressure check, and it was high. It actually jumped up into the 160s. And she said, you know, you're 39 weeks and 2 days. We're going to induce you in 5 days anyway. Let's just do it now. And in that moment, I got like kind of overwhelmed because it was real. So I started crying. Just, you know, I wasn't sad or whatever. It was just, this is real. And she said, you know, it's up to you. And I said, no, let's do that. That feels right. And I'm really glad we did, and I'll tell you why. So she said, well, get something to eat, and we'll get you settled in, and then we'll start. They skipped the other two, so they were debating on, there's a medication or gel that is inserted vaginally, and then there's a catheter is placed in the cervix to try and dilate it and start the induction. But because of the, sorry I'm saying a lot, but I'm a little bit sleep deprived, the condition of my cervix, it was actually more progressed than what they expected, so they just went right to Pitocin. So that we got into the labor and delivery room, and they have a room service thing at the Kaiser Hospital. So we ordered food, they did my vitals, we got me checked in, and so they started the Pitocin at 4 p.m. And I took notes so that I could make sure I don't miss anything. My blood pressure stayed high, so they gave me medication for that right away. I had tested positive for group B strep, which is, I believe, a bacteria that's kind of in your system. So they had to give me antibiotics for that so that I didn't pass it on to the baby. I am allergic to penicillin, so they had to give me a different medication, which can take longer, I guess, to get in your system than the penicillin. So they started that right away. And so, you know, suddenly I'm hooked up to IVs. I had a central line on this arm, central line on this arm. You can see my giant bruise there. That one, she missed it, and so it actually started bubbling up under the skin. So we didn't actually get an IV in there, and then the other ones were out here. And the, let's see, yeah, so we get settled in. They start the Pitocin at 4 p.m. To monitor the baby and the contractions, they have a couple of different ways to monitor that. The first way are these round, like maybe that big, monitors that stick to your belly. And she said for people that are heavier, it can be harder. It's kind of similar to a Doppler, and when we would have our OB appointments, the doctor would have a hard time hearing the baby's heart rate with the Doppler, so she would always get out the ultrasound machine, and the baby's right there, you know, doing well. So I wasn't surprised when they were struggling with the monitors. And even though when they actually could hear it, she sounded great. Baby was doing great, actually the whole time. Excuse me. So what happened with the monitors is they would get the straps, get them kind of taped down just right, and then I couldn't move. Because the minute you shift, then the baby shifts and you lose it. So I was pretty much flat on my back or side lying from then on, which is not what I wanted. You know, my hope was to be able to move around and try different positions in labor, and try different tools like squatting and squat bar and birthing bar or birthing ball. None of those things happened. So I was disappointed with that. But they have to be able to monitor the baby while you're on Pitocin. So they were waiting for my cervix to dilate more, because the second form of monitoring, and this sounds crazy, when we found out about this in our birth class, we were like, ugh. It's about the size of a thumbtack. It's a little pin, and that's inserted vaginally through their cervix, and the pin goes into the soft spot of the baby's head, and that monitors the baby's heart rate. And then a second monitor goes again through the vaginal area, through the cervix, and sits against the uterus, I think. I don't quote me on that. And that monitors the contractions. And then you can take the stuff off your belly. And they said you'll be a lot more mobile then. Well, that didn't really happen either. So they did those 2 monitors, and it didn't hurt. It just is, you know, a weird concept to me, that the baby's head has to be poked like that. So we had that, and at one point it did slip out for me kind of moving around, so they had to do it again. But otherwise they could monitor her well, and she was doing well. So I started having contractions, and so we ended up doing an epidural, and they placed it. That went okay. I wasn't in like extreme pain at that point. I was just nervous if we waited too long. So they put it's like a little catheter of medication. So they put that in, they tape it all up, you're fine. Well, then I was on my back. And then what would happen, even with the internal monitor, is the baby would move, and then they couldn't get a read. So then they'd have me shift from laying on this side to then laying on this side, and it was just not fun. So because my blood pressure stayed high, they put me on magnesium, basically. And every nurse, every person that came in to talk to me about the magnesium prefaced it with a grimace, like, oh yeah, you're probably gonna end up on magnesium. And I just at that point was like, oh great. So magnesium, they say, can basically feel like you have the flu. I didn't really notice it being that bad because it just, everything was kind of just feeling blue. So it can make you really tired. It can make you really hot. I did bring a fan with batteries because they don't let you plug things in, but I did bring a fan with batteries. That really helped me a lot. So my water ended up breaking at about 12:15, it's like midnight, 12:15. And I just, we were kind of waiting for it. At one point she was going to break the bag of waters, and then I wasn't quite effaced enough or dilated enough to do that. And so I shifted, and I can't remember if we did the epidural before or after the waters breaking. I can't remember. I shifted to the other side when they told me to, and I felt what felt like bubbles, like bloop, bloop. And then all of a sudden it was like just flood. And I said, okay, my water just broke. And that was the strangest feeling ever. So after a while, I noticed the epidural was wearing off. I could feel my toes, I could move my legs, I could just feel a lot of stuff. And so I let them know this, and they were like, are you sure? I don't know. And so then they came in and kind of tested me and said, okay, we'll go ahead and do another one. So they had the anesthesiologist come in, and they pulled everything out and then did a brand new one. This one did nothing. So, I know it's a fine line of the areas they have to hit, and, it got missed. And I really could feel everything. I could lift my legs, I could do everything. And I kept trying to tell the nurse, like, this didn't work, this didn't work. And she's like, you're gonna feel some pressure, it's okay, calm down. And I said, I'm not even feeling like, I was scared because I was scared that if I had to have an emergency C-section that it would be a problem. And so I kept trying to speak up. So they gave me fentanyl to help, and which makes me tired. I had fentanyl, I think, when I had my gastric bypass surgery, and literally once they give I put it in the IV, then I'm like this, like, just tired. So again, I was on my side, and so it was a long night, of course. And then I started feeling the contractions and really bad, and I said, please get the doctor back in here. And so the anesthesiologist came in, and we talked about it, and he's like, okay, I will try one more, but the two ladies that gave you the first two epidurals, I've been here a long time and know exactly what they're doing. So I said, please just try. So him and an associate came in, and I guess they actually called for advice with the senior anesthesiologist as well. And did it, thankfully, and it worked. It worked. So I was really happy about that, of course, but I was also surprised because I was still feeling all the pressure, and they said that's normal. But I mean, I've seen people in videos where they're so numb they can't even like push because they just can't even feel anything, and that's kind of more what I was expecting an epidural to feel like. So I was surprised I was feeling so much. And when the contractions really came close together and were really intense, I was actually afraid I would have a panic attack because it was so intense. And I was trying to breathe through them. I was trying my affirmations. I was trying all my tools. And it finally got to the point where I was vocalizing during contractions. So a low moan or almost like a humming, just to get through them. And thankfully, they don't last forever, and you can kind of like, it peaks. But it was just kind of scary, and I kept thinking, like, I'm just going to ask them for a C-section. I can't take this. It was just really, really tough. And Dan was really supportive, and it went from him massaging me, which felt good, to then me not wanting to be touched, and so he was just close by. And I know it can be hard seeing your partner in pain, and he handled that really well. So midnight my water broke. Then we went into the next day. Our moms came and were in the waiting room for a good amount of time. About 2 o'clock, the doctor came in and checked me and said, okay, you're 6 centimeters. Usually you will dilate about 1 centimeter an hour, so expect to start pushing about 6 o'clock. So I took a deep breath and thought, can I do this for 4 more hours? And after 2 hours, the nurse came in and I said, I am really uncomfortable. Can you have her check me again? And of course, because when your water breaks, you don't want to introduce any bacteria. And so they had a special sterile gloves that they would use anytime they checked. But you still don't want to be doing a lot of checks. But I said, we need to check. And so the doctor came in to check, and she says, wow, you are fully effaced and dilated. You're ready to push. And so they didn't leave the room. She called the nurse in, they called the baby nurse in, and we're doing this. So she took off her jacket, got on her, whatever shield. They both had like face shields on. And they had really great stirrups that were actually bigger, that supported your full calf, not just your feet. And so we got my legs in the stirrups. Dan was up by my head next to me. And I did my first push, and right away the nurse and the doctor were like, you know exactly what you're doing. That was perfect. Keep doing that. And so I did 2 more pushes, and then we waited for the next contraction, and they said, let's try and get 3 pushes in this contraction. And when you're pushing, you take a deep breath, and then you hold it, and you're bearing down, and you put your chin to your chest and just like bear down as long as you can, blow out your breath, take another fast breath, do the same thing. And so I did that, and she said, she's right here, she's right here. And so I think we did it one more time, and in hindsight, we looked back, and it was 15 minutes of pushing. Went really fast. And she just kind of came out all at once, and they put her right on my stomach. She was, they kind of flipped her to her side and were wiping her down and rubbing her down. And she started crying, and I could see her ear. I couldn't see her face yet. And Dan and I were both just, he was emotional. I was just kind of in shock, like the whole thing, just a little bit like dazed, and it happened so fast, the pushing part. And she was here, and she was fully formed, and it was just so special. I mean, it was a lot of things, but it was surreal. So they went ahead, Dan cut the cord. I had 2 small tears, so the doctor went ahead and did a couple stitches, delivered the placenta. The baby nurse took her over to the table and finished cleaning her off, and then I could finally see her face. And she had all of her fingers and toes, and nothing was wrong. So yeah, she was here, and everybody just kept praising me for how fast I pushed and how well I pushed. If it wasn't for feeling the pressure of the contractions and the complications with the epidurals, it would have gone smoother. So we'll see. During those delirious moments, I was like, Dana's going to be an only child. I don't know. Just there you go. So I should say her name is Dana, D-A-N-A, and then her middle name is Rosemarie, with capital R, and it's just all one word, Rosemarie. And we're so happy to have her here. Because of my complications, they did diagnose me with severe preeclampsia. So I was on a lot of medications. They were going to keep us in the labor and delivery room because I needed more one-on-one care versus in the mother-baby ward. There's like 3 patients per nurse. But then later on that night, they ended up moving us up to the ward, and yeah, we got settled in. She did latch right away, which is great. And yeah, so I was had vitals done every hour, my blood pressure every hour. I had 2 IVs, you know, all the epidurals. It was a lot. My body went through a lot, but I'm still thankful I had a vaginal delivery, even though during the, you know, intense times I was ready to yell out for a C-section. And yeah, we stayed in the hospital 2 days. The second day, let's see, maybe it was 3 days. So we got released. Today is Saturday. So we got released on Wednesday night at 8:30. So I believe I got my, I got 1 IV out, then I got the second IV out. So I was able to actually move around more on Tuesday, but I was stuck in bed even after the delivery for a while. So that was really tough. I don't like being stuck in bed at all. I like to be able to move, and you know, if I want to go do something, I can do it. They did keep a catheter in for a while, which was nice. I didn't have to worry about going to the bathroom. And so we got discharged Wednesday night, and the baby fussed a lot. And I was trying to breastfeed, but it's hard to know, is she getting anything? Really wasn't getting much colostrum during the hand expressing. Oh, so her weight, I guess I should say her weight. So she weighed 6 pounds, 11 ounces and 19¼ inches. Born at 4:15 p.m. on Monday, and that's June 19. So it was great to bring her home. I was still, you know, not feeling great. Daniel gets to stay home for quite a long time from work, thankfully, which is great. We're really thankful for his job and the benefits. And so we're settling in. She's beautiful. I still am just stunned sometimes. And him and I are kind of taking shifts, although I think she would probably sleep, you know, we have a co-sleeper next to our bed, so, but, you know, we just like to kind of stay up with her and make sure things are okay. The doctors and, you know, the hospital and stuff talk about there's the first 3 months, they're in what's called the 4th trimester, so they do need some extra attention and care, and so we hold her a lot. And yeah, so I think I'll leave it there. She's 5 days old today, and I'm going to go ahead and insert some pictures so that you guys can see those. And like I said, if I can't get her in this video, I will get her live in the next video, and we will go from there. So thank you so much for watching and supporting us, and we will talk to you soon.